Hello all, today we're going to talk about few important things. Okay, we're going to talk about few attributes, namespace, and let's go ahead and first of all let me create a project for it. Okay, so here we can look at this is our Spring core project. You can see if you go to Spring, let me talk about the dependencies. I have if you go to pom.xml, you can see we have few dependencies. One is the Jade unit, which is going to come by default. We have Spring context, and we have log4j dependencies. There are two dependencies for the log4j2. One is log4j API, another one is log4j core, and we have set them properties for their versions. In the properties stack, you can see we have mentioned all the versions here, and I have mentioned their tag inside the dollar flower brackets. This is the best way of best practice. And if you look at the build, you can have configured Java compiler plugin for the 1.8 because with Maven we are going to get 1.5 version. So for it, I have set the Java compiler path as 1.8 here, and this is the name of my the package, and this is the name of the project and my version, and I'm doing the packaging as jar. Okay, and the other important thing is, let me close this Maven dependencies, and if you go to source for the log4j2, we need a configuration file, that is log4j2.xml. So I have placed inside the source main resources. Okay, and I placed it inside it. And for the Spring, we need an important configuration file, that is the Spring Bean configuration file. For it, I have created a source folder with the name config, and inside it I have placed my spring.xml. So as of now I have not configured anything, but I have created beans. So if you go to source main Java, you can see address, this is my one bean, and the person, this is my other bean. Let me open person first. Here I have three instance variables, three fields. One is a PID, other one is name, other third one is address. Address. Okay. So here, if you look at the person bean, we have three fields. One is PID, its data type is integer, and name, its data type is string. And we have created third field as address, and its data type is address class. Okay, address. So, and we have created setters and getters for this all these fields. At the end, I have created toString and also a display person method to display all these fields. And if you go to address, if you go to address bean, this is, I have created only one field here with the name state. So for it, I have created set of indicators, and I have created a default constructor in both the person and address, just to say, uh, just to know when the object, whether the object is created or not. Okay. So in the same way, I have the toString here, and also display address method. So if you go to person, I have default constructor. I have just say it, just to know whether the object is created or not. Okay, so in the same way, in the address I have created an um, a default constructor address, and I have some display method to show whether the address object is created or not. So in this way we have two beans, one is a person, other one is address. So let me close this for now and go to app.java. In app.java I have not created anything. So the first of all, we need the container. So for the container we need, let me create a container, new class path xml control space application context, right? And I'm going to say control1, assign it to the this one. Let me name it as, let me store it in inside the container. So as I always said, it must be always stored inside the its interface, not inside the class path application. This is the best practice. It's always good to store the class path context XML inside the application context interface. Okay, and I have stored named the variable as container. So inside it, we need to give the complete path of the spring.xml. So in my case, my I have imported all those required imported all the important Spring framework context things. So for related to the class path XML application context. Okay. So now in this class path application context, I need to mention my Spring Bean configuration file location. So here is my Spring Bean configuration file. You can simply right click on it. Okay. Instead of it, you can do one thing. You can right click uh, on your folder, copy the qualified name, paste it here. Okay. And Spring dot, all this thing is not required. Let me maximize it. I don't need all this stuff. Okay. Let's check whether this one is working on it. I have just run as Java application. Let me open the console. Here, what it's saying is loading XML bean configuration from the class path resource source main configuration.xml nested exception, the file not found, class path resource. So it's not able to find our class path because it does not exist. This message we got. So with this we can guess that it is unable to find. So let me remove the source main configuration. Let me use this again, run it. Oh, even then it's not able to find my spring.xml file. So what I'm going to do is simply remove. Okay, no, let me run. Wow, now it's able to find. Now it's able to find. Okay, now we got no errors, so which means that it's able to find. The log4j, it's displaying all the unnecessary thing. So I'm going to do one thing. I'm going to go to log4j2.xml and say I don't want the messages for each and everything. I just want when I get error. I just want when I get error. Okay, let me close this, run it again. You can see it's terminated. So which means that it is the class path XML has successfully read spring.xml configuration file without any issue. So now, as I configured my container, um, let me configure my Spring Beans. Okay, let me go to spring.xml. I configure my Spring Beans. So till now, how we have been configuring is uh, control space bean, and here in the inside the bean, what we have things like um, id id is equal to what, some, let me name it as this thing, and the class is equal to, what is the class name? Why? Okay, we need to type it. Control space, the fully qualified name of the person, and So this is my bean, and inside it, if at all you want, we can have properties. We can have properties. What is the property? So my first property is name, happy ID, and it has value. What is my value? Value. Let me name it as, give it as this thing. And the third one, second one is name. Let me give the name as okay. And the third one is it's uh, name is, what is the name? It's address. So important thing is we always need to look at the data type. Here you can see this is a data type. So that's how you need to identify. Okay. And what is my value? What can I give value? Can I give value as something, is the right way? Not at all. Here in this case, here we need to make use of ref. Here we need to make use of ref. Okay. What ref? I'm going to tell you. Before that, let me configure address bin as well. Okay. Control space bin, and by name of name is okay. The name is, let me give it as A, and class is address, right? Control space, class is address, control space, and fully qualified name. So inside the address I have only one property. What is that? It's you can see control space, automatically it's going to get. And what is the value we want to give? Let's say, let me give it as AP, Andhra Pradesh. Okay. Okay. Now, if you look at here, this is my the person being, this is my address being. Okay. So, but if you look at person class, this person class, you can see here the person is making use of address class. Okay. It has one of the field as one of the field address. So it's indirectly making use of address. So for this kind of things, what we need to do is you need to go to spring.xml. For this kind of things, you need to make use of ref. Here the ref should be the ID of the address. ID of the address. What is the ID of the address? ID of the address is A. So that thing we need to mention here. So that is known as ref. Okay. So that's about the ref. You can see with this we have developed a dependency between person and address by making use of ref attribute. Okay. So now let's go to app.java. As we have already created the container, we know that if we, by default, it's going to the scope will be the singleton. So whenever you call this, it automatically it's going to create uh, the object for it. At the bottom, there are a few things which are going in progress. Okay. Let me click on my container. It's saying that local variable is not used. Before making use of, whenever we create the container, it's always good practice to close it. Okay. So the container.close is not present in the application context. So that's the reason why we are getting it here. Just simply right click on it, simply typecast it to the abstract application interface. Okay. Now we have closed it in a right way. So here we need to write our the business logic, whatever you want. Control S. Let me run it as Java application. So you can see here the person object is created. Next is the address object is created. Okay. Here the execution is based upon it's based upon the beans what you have configured. From it's going to be from top to bottom. The first it's going to read the person bean. So that's the reason why it has created the person object. Next it is going to read the address. So that's the reason why it has created the address object next to the person. So in the if it is a Spring bean configuration file, the beans will be created according to the beans what we have written. That's nothing but from top to bottom. If it is annotation, it will be completely different. It will be according, the beans will be created according to the name. Okay, according to the alphanumerical order from A to Z. Okay, that's the thing. So now we are going to talk about these three things today. The first one is p namespace, other one is a property, third one is array tag. Okay, we want to talk about these three things. So first of all, what is the topic? P namespace. Okay, right. So if you look at Spring Bean, so if you look at where is my Spring Bean configuration file? Yeah, this is here. If you look at here, we have one namespace. What is it? That is beans. Okay, so we can see bean namespace, the one what I have highlighted. It's a bean namespace. By default, so to write Spring configuration file, bean namespace is must and mandatory. Okay. So let me go to namespaces. If you look at the bottom, you can see namespace separate tag, and you can see by default it has selected beans because it's important and mandatory. And if you look at a few other things, we also have few other namespaces. So if at all you have to make use of the property namespace, if at all you want to, here if you look at the, let me go to source, you can see here we have written our properties in a separate, we have a we have the values, we have set the values inside the property tag. So which is, even this looks little you know time taking, it's consuming more time. So so to avoid this thing, so to avoid this thing, instead of writing in multiple lines to make the code cumbersome, uh, uh, we can write our code, we can configure our bean in a single line itself. So let's learn how it is. So that is, let me go to namespace. So that can be done by making use of the namespace P. P stands for the property. Okay. So if at all you are making use of the constructor injection, you need to select C. Okay. So as of now, we are not making use of constructor injection. So I'm not selecting C. As we are making use of setters and getters, that is nothing but property injection, I'm selecting P. Okay, so I have selected P. Let me go to source, and you can see at the top P namespace is added. So whenever we add a namespace, we automatically get few additional beans along with the attributes. So let's learn what are they. So with this uh, P namespace, as I said, we are going to get few additional attributes. Okay, so to learn about that, you need to go to inside bean and enter control space. Sorry, enter control space. Here you can look at, you can see it's saying that uh, abstract true, auto wire depends on destruct method, init lazy name parent. So we got all those things. So instead of writing the properties, you can write inside the bean itself. So let's learn how it is. So that can be done by making use of the P. P stands for the P namespace. You need to enter tab, enter control space. So here, when you enter P colon, you know, you can see it's automatically showing few uh, a few things. So here, instead of writing the ID as a property, you can make use of the P colon PID. And directly can enter name. So instead of writing name address, you can make use of P address, P name, and give it as this thing. So for the so we can remove both those things. But whereas address is a reference, okay, so for it we have a separate tag that is, let me enter p column, it's saying ref name ref. What is it? Address ref, right? Address ref. What is the address ref? It's a. So with this you can remove this property as well. So you can directly remove, close the bin tag. Oh, in a single line, we have configured our person class, right? In a single line. So even this address can be, we can remove this one and make use of p namespace, p column. It's going to show us few things. State, what is the state? It's AP. So in the single line, we can configure everything, right? Just in a single line, you can configure everything. Just in 2 lines, we have configured 2 beans, 2 beans. See how easy it is if we make use of namespace. But in reality, we will be never ever making use of the making use of the Spring XML bean configuration file. We'll be making use of annotations. Okay, so this is how we can make use of p namespace. So what is our next topic is about property getters and setters methods. So here the property the property is what you're making use of are nothing but setters and getters. If you go to this thing, we're not they are not actually this thing, they're actually setters and getter methods. Okay. The third one is array tag. Okay, let's discuss about this. So the third topic is array tag. So let's say that uh, Let me remove this thing. So let's say that we have one bean. Let me create a one more bean, new other. So okay, let me create a one more bean, new class. Let me create employee. Okay, finish. This is my employee class. I'm going to create an instance variable with a name string of string array. It's a string array names. So let me create employee constructor. Say employee object is created. So I will have setup and get us for this. Uh, what happened? Okay, I'm going to select names, generate, and I'm going to have toString. So I'm going to have toString. So this is my employee class. So let me configure this in uh, the spring.xml configuration file. So for this, let me create a bean. I'm creating the bean with the name bean, and inside it, let me have the ID as E, and my class is okay. And inside it, let me have the property. Um, what's my property? It's a namespace. Names. So we can have multiple values. Let me say, so this is my one value, this is my other value, and this is my other value. In this way, we can give multiple values. In this way, we can give multiple values. But whereas if you have set map list those collections, then definitely we need to make use of the uh, make use of the tag known as array tag. So even for the array of string, we can make use of the array tag. Okay. So instead of writing this way, okay, let's check this first of all if this thing is working or not. I run this as Java application. I'll run this as Java application. What happened? Let me run it again. Run as Java application. Okay. So it's running. So it has created object for this thing, and at the end we have employee. So it has created the object for the employee as well. So this is my employee class. So it has created the object for it. So everything went fine. But what if we have the things known as set? We have things known as get, set, list, and map. Those collections. So if we have them, then definitely we need to make use of array attribute. So let me say that. Let me remove this thing. Let me remove this thing. So for this, definitely we need to make use of what is that? Where is the array? What happened? So inside the property, what is my name? It's names, right? So inside the property, um, I need to make use of array. Before making use of array, you can see array can contain multiple inner beans. Ref collection can also have collection or values. Okay, so as we are not making use of collection here, I'm making use of value. So if you are making use of collection, then definitely you need to make use of collection attribute here, collection tag here. So if you are making use of so collection, you can make use of list, map, and set. Okay, but I'm not making use of this thing, so I'm going to go with the array. So inside this array, you can have value. So in this, we can provide as many values we want, those many things. Okay. So let's say that I have one more value known as okay, this is my one more value, one more name. So this way we can pass multiple values. So let's check it. Run as Java application. Let me run as Java application. Not sure whether it has run or not. Right click on it, say run as Java application. Okay, so it has run as Java application. So there is no issue at all. So let me go to app, select container dot get bean of um, say I'm going to say what's my bean name? Bean name is A, and my class is A dot this dot class. Okay, so I'm going to assign it to the address, and I'm going to call address dot. You can simply say sys out and have address in it, because we have string method, right? Is it? So let me go to spring.xml. Uh, it is expected to be dot employee, but it's found to be okay, right. Thing is, it need to save inside the employee. It's of the employee, right? And you need to save inside the employee. Okay, now again run it as Java application. So you can see the two values what you have passed, we got them, right? So in this way, we can make use of the uh, array tag if you are making use of arrays, or if you are making use of collections like list, set, map. Okay, so those are the three topics that we have discussed. So that's all for today. Thank you.